Once the knowledge base has been created, the next step is to describe the objects of reality using Genexus objects. To identify these objects of reality, we recommend paying attention to the words used by the users. At the travel agency that requested the application, we were told that they want to record their customers, the tourist attractions they recommend, and the countries and cities they offer tours in. Based on this information, we identify 4 objects of reality to describe in the knowledge base: clients, tourist attractions, the countries, and the cities. For each object of reality that we've identified, we will create a Genexus object of transaction type. The first Genexus objects created in the knowledge base are transactions, as they allow us to describe objects or actors of reality. Let's go back to Genexus to do this. To create a Genexus object, we select File, New, Object. We select this option and see that the following dialog box is displayed to create a Genexus object, where we can choose the type of object that will be created. We select the transaction object type. It's not the concept of database transaction. Instead, it'll be a specific Genexus object to work with the app's entities of reality. And we give it the name Customer. We click on the Create button, and here we can see the transaction that has been created, ready for us to start defining its structure. All transactions have these sections that we will describe later on. The transaction structure allows us to select the attributes or fields that describe an object of reality. At the travel agency, we were told that they want to record every customer's name, their surname, address, phone, and email. Therefore, this data that must be recorded for each customer matches the attributes that have to be created for this transaction. So, let's start creating the customer transactions attributes. Note that the first line is created for us to enter the first attribute. Also, note that an icon key is associated with this line. The reason is that in every transaction, an attribute or set of attributes must be set with identifier or key role. The concept of identifier or key attribute is aimed at uniquely identifying every customer recorded or any object of reality. In other words, we will not be able to enter 2 customers with the same identifier value. We will now set the key attribute of the customer transaction. Since we are not required to save their passport or ID card numbers, which could be candidates for identifier roles, we will create an attribute called Customer ID, which is short for Customer Identifier, and soon we will set it to be auto-numbered in sequence. Note that if we press the dot key on the keyboard, Genexus automatically shows the transaction name as prefix in the attribute name. All we need to do is type ID after the prefix, customer. We press the tab key, and we choose the data type that will be stored for this attribute. Clicking on the arrow displays the data types available in Genexus. For this attribute, we will leave the default data type, that is to say, numeric of 4 digits with no decimals. We press Enter and start to create the second attribute. A new line is opened. Once again, we type period and complete the attribute name with name, that is to say, customer name. To set the data type stored by the customer name attribute, in this case, we select the character data type. Note that if we type an opening bracket, the default length is 20 characters. We will leave that unchanged. We follow the same steps to enter the customer last name attribute, which will also be of character type, length 20. And now we add the customer address attribute. We can see that in this case, the data type was automatically assigned. Genexus realized that we want to create an attribute whose name partially matches the name of an existing data type. We continue with customer phone and see that Genexus assigned it the phone data type. Lastly, we enter the customer email attribute, which is assigned the email data type by Genexus. In particular, the data types address, phone, and email are special data types called semantic domains. Later on, we will see that when we work with them, They include features that are specific to an address, a phone number, or an email address, respectively. We save this transaction. Note that an asterisk is now being displayed in the Customer Transaction tab. This means that the transaction is being edited, and when we save the changes, the asterisk disappears. And the transaction is displayed in the KB Explorer window. We select the Web Form section. And since ours is a web application, Genexus has automatically designed a web form according to the defined structure. This form will allow users to add, change, and delete customers. We have a tool to see how the web form will look at runtime according to the screen size. We open that window from View, Other Tool Windows, Form Preview. Note that down here, it shows the screen size in which the form will look like this. All controls are aligned to the left with the tags on top. This would be a phone, extra small screen size. And if we enlarge the screen to a small size, such as that of a tablet, we can see how the controls are adapted to show the data according to that size. This time, we see the tabs on the left of the fields with an indentation. That is to say, web applications will be responsive, which means that responsive web design is used. We want to try this application at runtime. How do we do it?